let's acknowledge, first of all, where we are and the problems that we're having. Some of the things that we acknowledge is that people of color, Black and brown people, are disproportionately affected by this disease. And we also acknowledge that people that are working class or below are also disproportionately affected. When it comes to the amount of testing, although governors and mayors are trying to do a good job, we understand that significant portions of the underclass don't have primary care physicians to consult and don't have insurance plans to pay. And a lot of the testing for the first month of this were not in areas that a lot of people could access, particularly if they didn't drive or have vehicles. So we also acknowledge that a significant number of people that are on the economic margins tend to live in urban areas and tend to have multiple people living in the same house, sometimes multiple generations. So it's really hard to social distance if that's the case. And then add to that, a significant number of them, if they're working, tend to be working in service industries. And all of a sudden, service is determined to be essential because we need people to feed us and drive the buses and do the cleaning and things like that. So the people that we would look down on before, the people that society said weren't worth a living wage, those are the people that we're counting on to keep us alive. So when you talk about that group of people, we already understand that those people are already in harm's way. So society is not doing a great job, although we pay platitudes saying thank you for your service, but they're still not getting the quality of life that they so richly deserve. So to ask what's going to happen to people of color or poor people after the pandemic, there's no reason to think it's going to be better because during the pandemic, we're not doing a really good job of keeping them safe. Now, let's add to it that a lot of states have decided that they're going to partially open up and that they're going to try to get business going again. But what does that really mean? Because once we open up businesses again and people are still afraid for their health and choose not to go back to work, they're pulled off of the unemployment because they have job availability because their business opens. And if they're still afraid of the virus or exposure, they now are no longer unemployed. Those are willful quitters. So opening too soon is bad for the very people that we're trying to help. So then you add to that, if restaurants that had 100 people working for them, significant number of these are service workers, and they decide that they can only do 50% capacity. So they aren't, every other table is going to be occupied, or they're only doing takeout. So what happens to the people now that used to work that we don't need 100 people because we only have 50% or 40% or 30% of the occupants. So now we're back open again and you can't come back to work because I don't have a job for you now. So who are those people? It's the same people that we're talking about. So to ask, will it be better after the pandemic? No, because we're not doing anything to undergird the working class of our country. And we're using them and we're determining that they're essential workers because we need them. And as soon as we get back on our feet again, we're going to turn our backs on them again. So no, there's no reason to think it's going to get better. If this is a turning point, it's going to shed a light on all of the stuff that we've done wrong. But everybody's going to be licking their wounds, and everybody's going to feel like this was really bad for all of us. And people are going to be dusting, the dust off of their own shoulders before they look around for other people. But clearly there are going to be others, churches or nonprofits that try to reach out, but they were doing that before. So it's not going to be the pandemic that did it. And everyone's going to be, on their heels behind this. So I don't see where this is going to turn into a positive. I don't see a silver lining coming out of this for anyone. Universities are going to take a hit. Major businesses are going to take a hit. Airlines are losing $1 billion per day. Folks are being laid off. And once we get back, people aren't going to be traveling nearly as much. People aren't going to be going to the beaches. They're not going to be at hotels. They're not going to use a lot of the service industry the way they did prior to March 9th. So there's going to be a lot of people left out of the socio and economic mainstream once this is over, if this is going to be over in the next year.